Rather lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. Now, Pep Guardiola has just confirmed that Alexander Zinchenko left Manchester City camp yesterday and is already with Arsenal. And he says the beautiful part about it is that they've had a chance to say goodbye properly as a club and also as a manager to Alexander Zinchenko, which did not happen with Raheem Sterling and Gabriel Jesus. So we're gonna be looking at that interview, and we'll be telling you much about what is happening with Alexander Zinchenko. Why aren't we hearing the bells ringing yet? But of course, it is very, very close now. We'll be talking about a left-sided centre back Arsenal, according to Football.London. Arsenal and Mikel Arteta are very keen on Manuel Akanji or any other left-sided centre back, but at the moment Manuel Akanji is the other target that has come up in terms of that position. We'll talk about our match day today. We have a game against Orlando City, and of course Arsenal interested in Pedro Neto, another winger at Wolverhampton Wanderers. And also Arthur Melo, Juventus are expecting Arsenal to make a move for the Brazilian central midfielder, as the player is not considering Roma but only FC Barcelona and Arsenal Football Club. Hit the like button for me. Let's get this video to 800 likes. Subscribe to the podcast as well. We are very close to 55,000 subscribers. Massively appreciated if you can actually do that for the family. Now, this is Pep Guardiola speaking speaking about Alexander Zinchenko and confirming that the player is no longer a Manchester City player, but they have said goodbye and he's heading to Arsenal Football Club.
On myself, and I think on behalf of the club, our gratitude for the effort, for how they behave on and off the pitch, and yeah, it was nice yesterday with Alex because we could say bye properly. Unfortunately, with Raheem and Gabriel could not do it because it was the summertime. But yesterday in dinner together, we could say bye to him and move on to Arsenal.
Right, that's it from Pep Guardiola. They're speaking around Alexander Zinchenko, and he says yesterday it was very, very special with Alexander Zinchenko, because Manchester City, the team and the manager and the staff had an opportunity, had the owner to say goodbye to Alexander Zinchenko, thank him of whatever he's done. He's done for the club. I mean, he's a winner with them. He's won 3 Premier League titles. Is it 3 or 4 Premier League titles with them? Around 3 Carabao Cups with them, and also an FA Cup. So they are massively grateful. And of course, interesting there is Pep Guardiola. I mean, as a manager, I don't know, he feels very, very free when it comes to talking about Mikel Arteta and talking about Arsenal in his press conferences. I think it is that kind of bond that really is very, very strong, because he said we said goodbye to him. We couldn't say goodbye to Gabriel Jesus and Raheem Sterling because it was deep into the summer. But with Alexander Zinchenko, we've had the chance to say goodbye, and he can now move on to Arsenal Football Club. Now, according to Fabrizio Romano this morning, Manchester City and Arsenal have finished the preparations of contracts for the player. The player is now expected to join his teammates after medicals today will be completed. The second part of the medicals should be completed today, and he will be joining the Arsenal team and the teammates that is in the US camp, where we'll be playing Orlando City today. We do not expect him to feature against Orlando City. I think that could be too early, but there is a high possibility and a high chance that by the time we play Chelsea in our last game of the US tour, we might actually have Alexander Zinchenko either on the bench, either on the second team, or even in the starting lineup. So any developments coming out of there, I will be letting you know, because this is the podcast, this is the channel that tells you the latest around Arsenal Football Club and everything you need to know about the club. Now let's get into the winger situation. Arsenal have been linked with a couple of wingers, of course, including Leroy Sané from the build, saying that Arsenal are interested in the player. And yesterday we talked about the fact that Leroy Sané is on the market as well. He is for sale if any club can pay in excess of £59 million, which is around 60 million pounds. Now Arsenal are also interested in Wolves Portuguese winger Pedro Neto. Now, according to most sources, according to a couple of sources, Arsenal have inquired, have asked about the availability of Pedro Neto at Wolves. One player that didn't have a very good campaign last campaign because of injuries, but if you look at the previous campaigns that he's played for Wolverhampton Wanderers, it's a very promising talent. Now, what you need to know about Pedro Neto is one of those wingers that are still very young, only 22 years of age. His contract runs down in 2027 at Wolverhampton Wanderers. He signed for them around, I think, 3 years ago for 17.9 million euros. I think that was from Lazio. And his current market value at the moment is around 32 million euros. So, look, I think with Pedro Neto, this is a signing I would say make it happen. It makes a lot of sense. At the moment, by the time he signed for Wolverhampton Wanderers, his market value was 2.5 million euros, and he signed for 17.9 million euros. So that shows you that he's a player Wolverhampton Wanderers and the whole transfer market believe there is a star in there. And I think I cannot really argue. If you ask me, one of the best, some of the best young talents on the flanks in the Premier League, if Pedro Neto can get consistent football, I think he's a very quality player. Now, the other player I love at Wolves is definitely Daniel Podence. Quality player, absolute quality player. Look, with Daniel Podence, I would even ask myself a question whether he would play in a big team, whether he can make that jump from a club like Wolverhampton Wanderers and play for a big club, and then he can still thrive. But of course, Arsenal now interested in Pedro Neto. He has a long contract. That means if you're gonna sign him without the consent of Wolverhampton Wanderers, then he will need to pay over the odds. His current market value being at 32 million euros. That means that he doesn't go for he doesn't you don't get him for anything below 45 million euros. I think you don't. Now, they paid over 20 million euros. If they can make a profit of around 25 million euros, I think they can let him go, right? Of course, I think it would also bring the player into action. You will need him to push for a deal, and you also need him to tell Wolverhampton Wanderers, let me go. I found my dream club. I found a bigger move. Let me go and change my career. But Arsenal being interested in this one, it is one that absolutely makes a lot of sense. He's only 22 years of age. He predominantly plays on that left wing, but I can also play on the right wing as an inverted winger, just like what we've seen with Bukayo Saka. So if you brought him in, he's one that is going to be very useful in terms of backing up both Martinelli and Bukayo Saka. And for me, eventually, he will start. If you get him into that Arsenal side, then he eventually starts ahead of either Gabriel Martinelli or Bukayo Saka, because he's very talented. There's a lot of talent in there in Pedro Neto. One that makes a lot of sense for me. If the price can be negotiable. The problem with Wolverhampton Wanderers is at times their players are going to move for a King's Joe. You need to pay a King's Crown for for their players in terms of prices. And that could be the problem. But if not that, Pedro Neto, one player I would definitely take. The edge profile is right, and I think one that is very versatile. You can play him across that forward line, and he doesn't block us from getting in a super winger in the next transfer window in the next summer. So Pedro Neto linked with Arsenal. One that will make a lot of sense, but we do not know if Wolverhampton Wanderers are open and willing to sell. Now, today Arsenal have a game, and that is against Orlando City. It will be coming to you live. I think if you are in the US, it is going to be at 2:30 in the morning. If you are in if you're in and around Europe, it will be at 30 minutes past midnight. And if you're around, if you're around, I think if you're around East Africa, it is going to be around 2:30 in the morning as well. Right, so make sure it's a late night game. It's a morning game because 2:30 is considered as morning, but honestly it is a late night game. So make sure you watch it. It will be aired on the Arsenal website, but you will need to pay, I think, around $5.99 or pounds to actually watch the game. But it will be live, and I'll be doing a preview about it and a match reaction as well. Now, moving on to the other stories. Arthur Melo, Arsenal are interested in Arthur Melo. We've spoken about that, but Juventus are still waiting for Arsenal to make a move for the Brazilian central midfielder. Now, according to sources in Italy, Roma, Arsenal, Barcelona are the three clubs interested. All clubs are interested in signing a central midfielder this summer. However, what is interesting here is, apart from Roma, Arsenal and Barcelona do not have Arthur Melo as priority. Arsenal's priority this summer is Yuri Tillemans. In the next episode, we'll be talking about Mikel Arteta demanding Yuri Tillemans, a move for Yuri Tillemans, and not Lucas Paqueta. We'll be talking about that in the next episode. But at the moment, Barca want Bernardo Silva. He is their priority. Xavi wants him. Arsenal are focused on Yuri Tillemans. We have sold the player on a move, and we're working on a couple of departures. Hopefully, if we can get the departures out of the way and convince Edu to sign Tillemans over Lucas Paqueta, then Tillemans will be our next central midfielder. So Roma remain as the only club that have Arthur Melo as priority, but he doesn't want them. It's let's wait and see if Arsenal will make a move for the player, but at the moment the interest is still very, very shallow. It was deep in January, very shallow this summer. Now, Football.London understand the Arsenal Football Club have made signing a left-sided centre back a priority, and now they have also been linked with Manuel Akanji once again. Now, I remember in May this year, Arsenal were offered the chance to sign Manuel Akanji. However, Arsenal felt like the price was over the top because Borussia Dortmund want around 25 million euros. In, I think, is he Swiss? I think he's Swiss. Is he Swiss? I'm not really sure. But so they want around 25 million euros in the player. And Arsenal feel the price should come down a little bit. We are not the only club. We are not the only ones here. It is more like Earth, space, and the solar system. There are other planets and there are other clubs interested in Manuel Akanji. We are talking about Juventus that have just signed Gleison Bremer. And look, Juve signing Gleison Bremer, by the way, means that they could just lower their interest in Gabriel Magalhaes, and that gives us some breathing space. But also thinking about it, either way, in one way or the other, you might say Manuel Akanji would be a very, very good fit for Arsenal, because when you think about it, we are looking for a backup centre back. We are not looking for a starter. We're looking for someone to cover for Gabriel Magalhaes. Of course, we know Gabriel can lose his head. He can pick up an injury or anything. After all, he's only human. So you need someone to back him up. And Manuel Akanji, his time at Borussia Dortmund, the fact that he's gone through that education system, one of the best footballing education systems on the planet, Borussia Dortmund, I'll definitely take him. So according to Football.London, Arsenal 100% working on a left-sided centre-back. The likes of Edmond Sabsoba mentioned, the likes of Manuel Akanji now mentioned, and the likes of Calvin Bassey was now completed. A move to Ajax have been eyed by the club. So that is it for me this morning. Pep Guardiola says goodbye to Alexander Zinchenko. It is now confirmed it's a done deal, moving to Arsenal. I mean, a manager saying that he's going to Arsenal, that means it is pretty much done and dusted. Arthur Melo wanted, Alexander Zinchenko contracts prepared by both clubs, and it's also it's time to sign them. And Arsenal have spent 115 million pounds this summer, more than any club in Europe. Have we done well? Have we done well.